Welcome to Talentwise, the definitive podcast for CXOs, human resource, and learning and development leaders. This show comes to you from thought leaders who talk about human capital development in today's organization. How to engage and empower today's employee to be effective, competitive, and relevant. Stay with us for an exciting conversation with our guest and learn how to future-proof your team. I'm your host Shubhanjan, founder of Knowledge Bridge. Our guest today is Prajjal Shah, founder and editor of hrkatha.com and Contentive Inc.
If you ask me, the Indian industry is still, waiting in anticipation to see what are the changes would have happen, and they will act accordingly. If you ask me about developing future talent, they are delving in today's problem rather than looking at what is going to happen in future. And it is probably the need of the business economy. Fighting your day-to-day battles, what is going to happen now in the next few months or the next 1 year rather than looking at a distant future.
Prajjal is a journalist, writer, editor for 2 decades and now an entrepreneur with the goal to build B2B communities across functions and sectors. He has been a mentor to several business writers who practice fair journalism. Otherwise, he is a complete foodie with a passion for cooking. Now, on to this great episode of Talentwise with Prajjal Shah. Prajjal, welcome to Talentwise. I'm really delighted to have you on the show. You are the first journalist on the show, so lot riding on you of the tribe.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Prajjal. So let's dive right in. We have been this entire season we have been talking about future-proofing the team and how the Indian industry and Indian businesses and organizations are looking at the future and ensuring that their workforce remains relevant. So from your very, very interesting and vantage position, what's your point of view on this? How ready is Indian industry for the future?
See, if you ask me, the Indian industry is still, waiting in anticipation to see what are the changes would have happen, and they will act accordingly. If you ask me about developing future talent, they are delving in today's problem rather than looking at what is going to happen in future. And it is probably the need of the business economy. Fighting your day-to-day battles, what is going to happen now in the next few months or the next 1 year rather than looking at a distant future.
Well, the leaders who are there, who are actually sort of guiding not only their own industries but guiding government policies and so on and so forth. Is there no thought at all? For example, if I'm running a large automobile industry, will I not be thinking about how, for example, the shift to electronic vehicles might make my current, assembly line completely redundant, or how do I develop new skill sets in my workforce? So, are people not at all thinking of this?
See, frankly, if you ask me, these have become just boardroom discussions, or rather, I would say drawing room discussions at the corporate level. But nothing majorly, or nothing is being done very actively, especially if you see the academy and the corporate partnerships to really develop talent that could change the course of the business or that could change the world is not happening. Yes, you want to say that, yes, for a certain production line, we need these kind of talent. So probably, there is some activity that is happening with some odd college where, you create few, hundreds of workers who are trained into that particular segment or particular line of production. But do you think in a country like India, those 300, 400, 500 numbers matter or has the capability to change the world? I don't think so.
Absolutely, I agree. So why is that? Because there are businesses that are getting upended. I'll stick to the automobile analogy because you may be able to throw some light on that. The fact is that last 2 quarters the automobile sales have slowed down, and for the shift in the thought process that a service like a Uber or a Ola is bringing in. The new generation is saying that I don't need to own a car because I can get a car in 5 minutes whenever I want. It doesn't matter what time of the day or where I am. So this is something uh, is not getting into the discourse yet in the boardrooms.
See, the thing is, what you're talking about is not actually related to skills or talent. That's how the business is functioning. That's how the consumer is changing.
That's right. So that it has a ramification of how you'll stay relevant and how you'll sell, how you'll change to EVs, and so I'm just connecting back to the previous question. So I'm just trying to understand: is there no thought, according to you, that what will happen to the automobile business 5 years down the line, and what do we need to do?
Automobile industry, if I say, it is on the borderline where it is trying to change itself. It is also because of several government policies. In few years down the line, the diesel vehicles are going to be redundant. The number of petrol vehicles is going to go down, and the electric vehicles are going to come. The production of industrial electrical vehicles is going to go up. Now, will that change the entire course of production line of uh, an automobile? No, not much. Except certain segment of the engine is going to change. Na? You might have hybrid models, so you might have still cars running on petrol as well as electric. So now there it is not going to totally, it is not that the guy who was working in this automobile factory will certainly, will not be able to work because it is electrical.
Okay. So I think that connects back to your the chat we are having, that the change is not rapid, it's gradual. So people are going to get a lot more time to adjust to the changes than we were possibly thinking. So
Yes, changes will happen, but it's nothing going to change overnight. It's not going to be so rapid as it has been written about or spoken about. There will be changes and it will be at its own pace. Evolutions have happened, since mankind, you know. People have got new skills. People have specialized in a skill, then they have earned new skills and then they again had to, rejuvenate themselves depending on how the environment changed, how the businesses changed, how the economy changed, everything. See, there are certain skills like here earlier, what used to happen is we would talk about industries where the machines would take place, would do certain acts which humans would do. Now, the fear is that the machines are also going to think the way humans are going to think. That's the biggest fear right now. That earlier it was a task that the machines would do, but now the machines are going to think also the way the humans think. Having said that, there are certain aspects which machines are yet to take over. Say, I'll give you an example. Say, writing. Even before, see, the computers came in, even before the publishing industry had started, people were writing, storytelling was there. Now, newer technologies started coming in. So, the way we consumed stories has changed. The way we share our stories has changed. The way we write our stories has changed. But has the storytelling changed? Can that be taken from a human being? I don't think so. And having said that, that's also an art, it's every individual, writes very differently. So suppose if I am writing something, I would write differently. You will write it from your perspective. You will bring in you know, some difference to it, some new novelty to it. Now, it can't be that, everything can't be, a mathematical formula as in, you know, 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals to 6. Can the world run on just on mathematical formula? No. So that's why, I can say that yes, changes will happen, but it's nothing going to change overnight. People are waiting in anticipation. People are closely watching now, what is my competitor doing or what is happening globally. So see, the thing is, everything that happens globally can't be implemented, the way it is in India. India, is a very different market. In terms of consumers, it is a different market. Even in terms of talent, it is a different market. In terms of skills, it is a different market. In terms of, work culture, it is a very different market. So it is not that, when something is not going to change overnight, you know, it is not that too much of thinking is going on to it. See, I'll give you a classic example, there are certain industries, is the newspaper industry, I would say. The newspaper industry worldwide is on a downside, but in India, it's still growing because there were certain people who were illiterate who migrated to reading newspapers now. Those who were reading vernacular newspapers or language newspapers, I would say, I don't use the word vernacular, the language newspapers, they have started, the next generation has started reading English newspapers. That's how the English newspapers are also growing.
So the aspirational bit is kicking in.
Yes. Similarly, in the talent sector where already there is so much of unemployment, people are trying to acquire that basic skills to get their first job. That's also happening. So we are fighting a battle at a very, grassroots level, and which I think has got much more significant output, on our economy.
Again, coming back, you were talking about how machines are impacting writing, and you think that it's not really much. And so there'll be many sectors where the impact of technology will be minimal, and because of the nature of the country and the nature of the workforce.
Yeah, the biggest thing about automation was that people thought that, you know, the, it's not just machines which will come and replace the, human at the workplace. It will be machines with, some intelligence or lot of intelligence. But having said that, you know, it is not that every job on this earth will be replaced by machines or intelligent machines. It is not possible. There are certain, however intelligent your machines can be, you will still need human intervention in each and everything that we do.
Yeah, Prajal, but one interesting point. Yesterday I was writing about how you can win along with automation. See, that perception is evolving. So about 10-15 years back, when if I and you sat down and made a list of things that machines will be able to do, we would say, oh, machines will never recognize faces, machines will never drive a car, so on and so forth. And that would have been correct at that point of time, because we wouldn't have been able to predict what kind of change technology will bring. Although it takes us away from the skilling and the reskilling of the workforce bit, but that's also another factor, that lot of things which we think. I mean, we never thought machines will be painting. Today, machines are painting. Now, whether it's based on algorithm, whether it is original, those things are the debate of today. 5 years, 10 years down the line, we don't know.
Now, I will tell you. The machine has been painting, but what to paint is being decided by a human.
Today.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same thing like, I mean, I'm just saying that, see, sometimes the things that we are predicting are based on our current understanding of technology, right? So it is sort of a history, past focused into the future kind of model, right?
Yeah.
But there are things which are happening in the future which we don't even know. So, I mean, I think that bit little is a bit fuzzy. What do you say?
Yeah. See, the thing is, if you talk about artificial intelligence, it did not start in the last, 10 years.
Correct.
It probably started in way back in 1960s.
Correct.
Since then, people have been working and predicting, at maybe, at that point of time, there were a few people involved with it, but still the, the basic premise of artificial start intelligence started way back in some 1960s. Since then, it has been almost 60 years.
Yeah.
We have progressed this much. Yes, I will agree that, in the last, say, 5 years or last 3 years, the progress has been more, rapid. Now, if I, so whatever the effect is going to happen, it's still going to happen gradually. And see, what happens is that whenever a change happens gradually, people get the time to adapt to it.
That's true.
So that is that time factor is very important. You know, it is that, so suppose I was just saying, we used to write with pen and paper earlier. When the computers came in, it was not that, one morning we woke up and we say, it was told that, you can't write with pen and paper anymore, and you have to now start writing on computers. It did not happen. There were few people who adapted to the technology first. Then there were, you know, a few hundreds who followed. Then it became thousands, and then it became millions.
Yeah. So is that our regular bell curve of early adapters and laggards and so on?
Yes. So for everything, there will be early adapters, there will be followers, and there will be long chain of followers after that. Similarly, in the workforce also, it is going to happen the same way. There will be a few early adopters where people will experiment and see what kind of changes it is bringing to the, workforce, to the economy, to the business. Ultimately, everything has to make a business sense.
Very true. Very true.
Suppose, I will only replace a machine, or a human with a machine, only provided that, that human is unable to do that job, or the machine does it cheaper than the human.
Right.
Only then, as an businessman, I will always see that,
Absolutely.
there is a cost to 5 people, and it is not just the cost; it is also this liability. It is, there is a risk factor, there is safety issues, so many things. We will take that into consideration. We'll say, okay, this can be replaced by the machines, and I will do it because I'm able to save cost. There are less concerns about, it could be about unionization, it could be about employee safety. There are several other aspects one can look into it. And only then will people, do it, change. That effect will again, make others follow. Now, when you are talking about that the automobile industry has gone down, the sales have gone down, it is mainly happened because of economic reasons rather than anything else. And people have lost jobs. Why people have lost jobs in the auto ancillary division? So suppose I know somebody who through, he's an engineer, and throughout his life he has worked, across automobile companies. Tatas to, say Mahindras, everywhere he has worked. He has worked with auto ancillary companies also for a large part of his career, you know, because of the downsizing, So probably, he was heading 3 or 4 factories and he was at a, mid senior level. So because of the downsizing, because the company did not need somebody to take care of the, 4 or 5 factories or plants, they thought that, the factory manager or the plant manager is good enough. We don't need somebody to oversee things above them. So they basically cleared out one layer. Now that person did not have probably, had expertise in the automobile sector, but that person moved to a different industry in the production line because he had that production experience. So because of his need, he tried to reinvent and he tried to make do with what he had. I'm not I am not getting into whether, he had to take a salary cut or, he got more salaries or he was hired by, this thing. I'm not getting into that. What my point is, did his skill become irrelevant? No. Did his experience of so many years become irrelevant because there was a downsizing in the automobile industry?
No, I mean in the basic context, no. But if the downsizing was happening because of change in technology, then possibly yes. But in this context, no. I understand.
It is not a very simple mathematical formula. That's what I
Right.
want to say.
Right.
It has got a lot of complexities and there is no one clear answer to it. Every industry for that, matter will act in a very different way, The way the automobile industry will evolve or the way the IT industry will evolve or say the way the FMCG or the durables industry will evolve will be totally different, or the way the media industry will evolve.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll ask Prajjal if there is any industry in India at all where he finds any focus into the future and future readiness of their employees. The answer is not a surprise.
You are listening to a Show How To audio original. Podcasting is one of the fastest growing content marketing avenues today. We can help you exploit this largely untapped marketing opportunity. We can craft your audio strategy and leverage the wide reach and easy streaming capability that smartphone penetration provides. It is powerful and personal. Talk to us to find out how podcasting can help you build your brand and reach out to target audiences.
Welcome back. I will ask Prajjal in this slowly evolving environment if there is any industry in India that is actively engaging with the future and planning a reskilling of its workforce to stay relevant.
So if I ask you that which industry at all is sort of thinking of the next 5 years, say, does any industry come out and jump out at you and say, okay, I know these aeronautics guys are definitely doing it, or there's solar guys are definitely doing it. Is there any sector, or they're all sort of in the same pace and rhythm?
See, one industry that I would say looks really at the future and is working is the IT industry. Some of them are really trying to reinvent themselves, by launching a new division, having a dedicated team which looks into the newer aspects of technology. If you say Wipro, for instance, Wipro has got the regular line of business with their regular set of coders. Now they have got something called Wipro Digital as well, which specializes in the digital side of business, newer technologies, newer line of business. And they have got a completely different set of people because they probably want to tune in those set of people with a different mindset, So that is probably preparing for the future. So it might not happen at a skill level, They also might, hire coders, but coders with a different bent of mind, probably.
Yeah, and also I think they're trying to provide a different environment which is free from the legacy burdens.
Yeah, like, say, when the media industry, moved from print to television, when the television industry bombarded, initially there were certain, print journalists who migrated to television industry and they're doing very well. They're still the editors and they have done significantly well for themselves. But those who were starting their career, they had the choice to choose between print and television. And depending on each one's skills, people made a choice. So people made a choice, that, I want to do journalism, but I'm not very good at writing. But I'm very camera free. So let me try out in television. But there are certain people who are still very passionate about writing, They need those 700 or 800 words to express themselves. They're still making a good career in print.
Yeah, so that is because print, as you said earlier, print is still thriving in India. So to
Yeah.
that extent, you can pursue print and still be relevant.
No, because if you see it that way, that printing is not going to, even if newspapers close down, you will have that word format of journalism or reading format of journalism, which can be, where print would have migrated to a digital platform. And now in a digital platform, both is possible. Your audio visual is possible, and as well as your text based content is possible. So the technology allows to you to have, both. But in terms of, when I see it in terms of skill, some people still will be comfortable, facing the camera, and some people will be comfortable writing the scripts.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Your personal aptitudes, right, will kick in.
Yes. What I think is people will adapt to technology, people will adapt to the change depending on how they face it. And it's true for both businesses as well as individuals.
So if I have to sum up, I'll say that according to you, the pace at India is very different from the global pace, the pace of change.
Yes. The demography is also very different. The market is very different. The consumers are different.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
It's a totally different world altogether. No?
Right. And within that, each sector has its own pace, and essentially, it's unlikely that something dramatic is going to happen like overnight. It will be rather a slow and gradual change, which will allow people to find their own bearing and their own space.
Yeah, like, I will just tell you, I was talking to, very, one of the HR leaders of the topmost IT companies in India. He said, Prajal, nothing is going to change overnight. We will still be hiring coders, preferentially from the engineering or STEM background. But the way we code or the coding language might change. So that is a small change that might happen, But ultimately, you will need coders. Now, the biggest, the another change that could happen is now, IT companies are trying to hire people from arts background because probably, they have got a different thinking process and they come with a probably different analogy, which probably the science guys don't. So that's the reason you will see now IT companies are also hiring people from arts background
Correct.
because you need differently, that is why you need diversity in the team.
Correct.
So now here, if you see, your industry is changing. You have tried to, find out talent in or skill sets in the existing pool that you have. But are you really trying to say that, it is like, oh, if you ask me that, I need this kind of talent in 5 years, so, I should go and tie up with an academia and I should, churn out these many numbers of people who just specialize in this. It is not happening. If you that you call is the preparedness for the future.
My last question to you is, do you see this adversely impacting India's ability to stay relevant globally? Or should we be happy with the domestic market that we have?
See, in terms of, consumers, global companies are still feeding on the Indian consumers, na? Yes, India is producing certain things which is, catering to, it is always to have an Indian product catering to the global audience
Right.
or the global consumers. So there has to be really an universal product like that which probably caters to people all across the globe. Or otherwise you can have, tailor-made products for different regions and different products.
So you feel that for some time we are insulated from this discussion of change, but over the next maybe 5 years we'll have a
My point is that we can't keep our eyes closed completely. But having said that, it is also not a situation to panic.
absolutely. That's a great note to end. No need to panic, but we have to keep our eyes open.
Yes. See what is happening, See how things are changing. Evaluate, how it is going to affect my business, our economy, our people, everything.
Talentwise is brought to you by Knowledge Bridge. We produce customized and multilingual visual training content. We have worked on complex processes, products, and skills development for large blue chip brands such as Tata Motors, Mahindra First Choice, Homelane, Epson, Toyota, Citibank, and Consol Neowatt, serving diverse industries. Talk to us for your next custom content requirement and be pleasantly surprised. Call us on 99021 631 32.
Great, Prajal. Thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate your taking and really analyzing this in depth. And I'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, sure. Same here. Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Coming up next week, another exciting new chat with Pradeep Srivastava.
If I divide the entire staffing function into the two parts, and one is the permanent staffing, another is the temp staffing, what we call it. But the movement which we have saw here is the temp staffing is close to about, in Indian rupees, if I talk about, it is close to about 23,000 crores to 24,000 crores business in India. If I see the top bracket of the technology people, which is not very, very high, it is there. But when I see the people, those who are really want to move, the people who have already shifted are the lower band. People who was having a salary less than 30,000 rupees, you find a maximum number, because they don't bother about the future career as such, and they want the bread and butter for today. But the skilled guys were having a lot of they are scared about, if I do the temping, and what's going to happen. They were hesitant to go there, like IIDs, IIMs, CAs, company secretaries, HR people.
Thank you for being with us today on Talentwise. We hope we helped you focus on some actionable ideas today. It was certainly enlightening for us. We hope to see you again on our next episode. If you liked what you heard, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast platforms like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts from, and give us a rating while you're at it. Thank you in advance. This Show How to Original podcast is produced for Knowledge Bridge, the multilingual visual training platform and custom training content creators, by Show How to Audio. Hosted by Shubhanjan Sarkar and produced by Rajiv Aditya. See you next time.